And now I'm going to introduce our next speakers. So please welcome to the stage Judge Megan Stiverson, Riley Tillow, and Megan Walters while I introduce them. So Judge Megan Stiverson currently serves as the Hillsdale County 2B District Court Judge. She received her Juris Doctor from Michigan State University and her Bachelor of Arts in Political Science from Hope College. Prior to her election to District Court, she served as the Juvenile Court Administrator, Hillsdale County Youth Home Administrator, Family Court Referee, Assistant Prosecuting Attorney, and Guardian Ad Litem for Hillsdale County Juvenile Drug Court. Judge Stiverson serves on the Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Board and has chaired the Children's Charity Ball for several years. Riley Tillow currently serves as the supervisor for Michigan Department of Health and Human Services Children's Protective Services in Hillsdale County. She obtained her master's in social work from Grand Valley State University and her Bachelor of Arts in Sociology from Albion College. Riley currently serves as the chair of Prevention Works, is co-coordinator of the Overdose Fatality Review Board, and sits on the Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Board. She was the 2024 recipient of the David Mills Child Advocate of the Year Award. Finally, Megan Walters currently serves as the supervisor for Michigan Department of Health and Human Services Children's Protective Services in Hillsdale County. She obtained her Bachelor of Science in Family Studies from Western Michigan University. Prior to her work with MDHHS, Megan worked as a service specialist for a foster care agency. Megan serves as a liaison between MDHHS, community service providers, and the court system. She also is co-coordinator of the Overdose Fatality Review Board and sits on the Child Advocacy Steering Committee. Help me welcome them.
Well, good morning. That was weak, guys. All right, there we go. We got to wake up a little. Any morning that I get to start my day by talking with like-minded people who feel how I do about individuals who have substance use disorder is a good day for me. I'm supposed to talk to you this morning about what the elephant looks like. It's a snapshot. I'm going to give you a few slides here with just some recent stats. But I also want to give you a bigger picture about what the elephant really looks like when you're working in the justice system. The elephant is large, and we're trying to put it into a dog kennel. And that's how we feel in the judiciary currently. You happen to live in a county with 3 judges that are receptive to treatment courts. I started working with treatment courts over 20 years ago when Judge Michael Nye started the first treatment court in Hillsdale County that was a juvenile drug court. It morphed after that into the current family treatment court that's been operating under Judge Bianchi for, well, the entire time she's been in office. So it's been a couple years, you guys. I also want to make sure that you're aware that we operate a drug court and a hybrid sobriety court as well, which is a DWI court. Both Judge Lisney and I share those 2 courts. She operates the drug court, and I operate the DWI court in the misdemeanor level. All right. Wow, that's small. I should have brought my glasses. Okay, so in terms of, yeah, that's not going to work. Magnifying glass here. All right. So our possession of analogs, I want you to go down 3 cases. It looks, they increased significantly from 2023 to 2024. We are well on the way to 2025, by the way, to having the same amount of those. This is only your stat for 2025 through, I think, about August of this year. Collection, by the way, at my office is done by hand. There's nothing special. We're going through every single case by hand to find out how many of these cases are coming through. Does everybody know what analogs are? How you charge somebody with possession of analogs? Anybody know what it is? So analogs came about, thank goodness, to the legislature, realized that there was an issue with certain drugs not necessarily falling under specific schedules, so we didn't know what type of a controlled substance it was for charging purposes. So an analog is anything that mimics or is synthetic. And that doesn't just mean synthetics like K2, just so you're aware. That also means things that are prescribed, prescription drugs that mimic opiates, like Vicodin, for example. A typically common prescribed pill that people would be given post-surgery by a doctor. That's how we're starting to get individuals, that's how we ended up with an opioid epidemic nationally, but that we could identify here locally as well. So those cases are increasing. My possession of heroin is up significantly, as you can tell, heroin and cocaine. We are already over in this year where we were the past 2 years. Controlled substance use, which is the top, I want you guys to realize why that's so small. That's the misdemeanor plea down, by the way, for a possession of methamphetamine, a possession of controlled substance case, so that a case can stay in the district court. We're not having those. What that means for you guys is that you have a criminal justice system, at least a prosecuting attorney's office, who's sending these felony cases over to the felony court where we can dispose appropriately of those individuals. And I know that sounds bad, but I'm gonna explain to you what I mean by it. Possession of methamphetamine, don't be fooled, it is not down. It's down from 2023 to 2024. 2025 looks down from last year, but remember that's through August. I got 10 new possession of methamphetamine cases within the last 2 weeks. So we're already over that. Things tend to trend when it comes to these specific substances. And I will tell you that an identifier, what the court has identified at least, what my case managers and my probation officers are finding, is that individuals who originally had opioid addiction or opioid use disorder diagnoses are switching to methamphetamine. It is cheap, it is easy to find, it is easy to get. And those of you that are longtime Hillsdale County residents, you know that about 15 or so years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, we had an issue with cooks here. People were cooking methamphetamine, stealing anhydrous from all your local farmers to make methamphetamine. It's actually on the down slope in terms of cooks that are occurring here, because it is literally cheaper to go and buy methamphetamine, Mexican drug cartel methamphetamine off the street, than it is to risk going and get your names on the logs, Sudafed logs at the Walgreens. Since the opioid epidemic started, I spoke briefly just to start off with about our treatment courts, but I want to tell you a little bit about the mindset when it comes to treatment courts. These are federally funded programs in terms of how we're able to operate them here in Hillsdale County. I know you guys are going to find this hard to believe, but our county doesn't have a lot of money. It's a struggle on a regular basis for our funding units to even fund the programs and the county offices that we currently have. So the judges realized that we needed to be creative, and we needed to be creative and find funding sources someplace else. So we currently are operating under three federal grants, excuse me. The Family Treatment Court has its own. They also have a subsidiary, which is a family preservation track, which I'll explain a little bit about as well. And then we have 2 other federal grants, the drug court and then my recent DWI court. I see my case managers here staring at me like I might ask them a question. We've been operating at that DWI court close to, are we on our 3rd year now? Yeah, I think we're close to our 3rd year now. And I'll have you all know, we all just recently were approved our grant funding again, so we do have funding again for another year. We have to report what we're doing and what we're seeing with these programs. So the Family Treatment Court deals with individuals who come through on a neglect and abuse petition. The elephant in the room looks like child abuse, you guys. The elephant in the room looks like child neglect. The elephant in the room looks like families being destroyed by substances. So instead of just taking people's children away from them and terminating their parental rights immediately because they have a DSM-5 diagnosis for substance use disorder, Judge Nye, and later Judge Bianchi, who's still operating it, decided people who abuse drugs, they love their children. They just can't take care of them appropriately at the time. We as a community owe these individuals, in my opinion, in these judges' opinions, the opportunity to help them with their diagnosis so that they can keep their families together and make them whole again. And I will tell you, they can't all do that. And sometimes there does have to be termination of parental rights so that children can be safe. But during the time that I was prosecuting those cases, I will tell you this: I never terminated somebody's rights who didn't love their children. They just couldn't stop using the substances that they had an addiction to. The drug court started with Judge Sarah Lisney when she was in my position in the district court. She has since been elected to the circuit court bench. She noticed a problem in Hillsdale. She noticed that we had hundreds of possession of methamphetamine cases coming through. They were, for the most part, being pled down to misdemeanor use charges, which overwhelmed and overloaded the district court. I currently, just so you have a snapshot of what we're looking at, have close to 400 individuals on probation, and I have 2 full-time probation officers to deal with those individuals. By obtaining the funding for a drug court, she was able to hire case managers, and very recently, within the last year, year and a half, we were able to get funding for the treatment court only, you guys, to have drug testers for accountability. With treatment courts, the single best indicator of success is drug testing and consistency, that accountability piece. The only thing that comes second to that is treatment and counseling to go with it. This is all of the probation numbers for positive screens over the last couple of years. I didn't go back that far because it was just too much information. As you can tell, marijuana, those legal substances, alcohol, those always are the highest. Because individuals that I'm seeing get in trouble for possession of heroin, fentanyl, methamphetamine, they switch. Or they have a co-occurring disorder or codependency on different substances as they come up. And some of you therapists out there could tell everybody in the room and give a 2-hour presentation on harm reduction. So judges had to learn then, especially through our treatment courts, what happens when we have a methamphetamine addict or a heroin addict come in and they start testing positive for marijuana. Well, the judges of old, the ones that were in as social workery as us new judges, you throw them in jail because they violated their probation, right? It doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. It's an additional expense to the county. And you guys live in a county where the jail is too full, where we don't have enough police officers and law enforcement in the streets, and we don't have enough staff unless we have federal funding coming in to be able to take care of these issues and problems to begin with. So the elephant is daunting. It's so big. How are we going to shove it into the dog crate so that we can stop the problem? Well, one of the things that these treatment courts do, and one of the things that we're doing as courts and through the system, is understanding that throwing people in jail immediately does not help. Sentencing guidelines for a first-time offender for possession of methamphetamine are local jail time. It's 0 to 9 months. That typically means that you should give them probation. If we just send somebody to jail, they're going to come out with the same exact problem and the same exact issues they had before. So now we've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to have them lodged, and they're going to come back into their community, our community, and have the same problem. So we're going to treat them instead. But I want you to keep in mind, while we're talking about elephants and me trying to shove them into the crate, as of now, treatment courts in the state of Michigan are voluntary. I cannot order that somebody participate in a treatment court. So a great number of the individuals and the stats that I showed you today are individuals who have chosen they don't want to participate in a treatment court because it's hard. It is hard to decide to get sober. It is hard to come into the courts. It is hard to look at the judge and say, yeah, so I'm going to test positive because I smoked meth over the weekend. But they're starting to learn that the judges in this community, the treatment courts, my case managers, my probation officers, if you're coming in and you're being honest, we're willing to give you the help because it does better for our community in general. Because the more people that we have, even if they fail, even if they mess up, even if they test positive, who know that they have supports from us, from you guys, from the community, they have more of a willingness to participate in the system because they feel supported instead of judged. I think I covered those already. Thank you.
make sure that I can see it as well.
Good luck.
I mean, I can see it. Good morning. Overdose fatality review. What is it? It's overdose fatality review, which I'm going to refer to as OFR. They're teams that are multidisciplinary and include individuals who can share information about a descendant or contribute to the analysis of available data to make recommendations that will help prevent future overdose deaths. What is an OFR? They are teams that are multidisciplinary and include individuals who can share information about a descendant or contribute to the analysis of available data to make recommendations that will prevent future overdose deaths. Am I on the right slide? Yeah, okay. It's crazy that I can't see it. That's what kind of is messing me up. What's our mission? OFR mission is it will prevent drug overdose deaths by examining case-specific underlying circumstances involved, actively seeking feedback from those with lived experience, and increasing connections between professionals and serving individuals and families affected by substance abuse. In addition, provide data-driven recommendations to stakeholders at the community, state, and national levels. Who's on an OFR team? They provide essential information about the conditions or environments in which the descendant was born, lived, worked, and aged, and what may have contributed to the descendant's overdose deaths. Many membership may include, and is not limited, we use the health department, law enforcement, probation, prosecutor's office, the medical examiner's office, which we have here today, was also, is a big part of OFR because they provide the information. Toxicologists, schools, housing, substance abuse therapists, religious community, patient advocates, anyone that can have any information to provide us. So when an OFR meets, we choose, there's two different types of OFR that you can have. You can have an identifier or a non-identifier. When we met, when we first started bringing this to Hillsdale County, we wanted to know, we thought it would be more beneficial if we had the name of the descendant. So we have the identifier. So that way, when the medical examiner's office sends us a case, we know who it is, and then that allows other agencies to provide more in-depth data. So like, we review the the CPS records. Where, as we go through this person's overdose, where did the system fail them? What services or what type of event sparked their addiction? So it could be a knee injury or something that got them addicted to opioids, and then it escalated from there because that's probably when their doctor refused to give them 90 Vicodins for a month. You know, so that's where we truly look at it. And some of it is, you know, what type of family did they have growing up? Was it full of domestic violence? Was it full of substance abuse? Was there physical abuse? Were their parents divorced? So we're looking at all those areas to kind of form an idea. So this is currently what counties have an OFR, and right now we have, in the state of Michigan, there's 19 local OFRs. So what do we do? I kind of skipped ahead a little bit. That's okay. You know, it's a process that brings together local professionals from a variety of disciplines to participate in systematic reviews, assessing what happened, right? Members share, they discuss their information. It allows them to think of a deeper understanding of the causes and factors that predict drug overdoses, fatalities, and informs the team's development of data-driven recommendations for public policy, interventions to prevent overdoses, and then it also includes the examination of opportunities to strengthen cross-system care, mitigate risk factors, and improve or expand opportunities for prevention. We've been going for about a year, we're coming up on a year, and what we have found so far is a lot of issues with the system, and prevention and treatment is a big one. So this is the Over the past decade, Michigan's seen a significant rise in the overdose deaths, which the majority involving opioids like heroin, fentanyl, prescription pain medication. Synthetic opioids were involved in approximately 80% of overdose deaths in 2022, a year in which the state reported 2,998 drug poisoning overdose deaths. This marked a 7% decrease from 2021, which followed a 13% rise in overdose deaths from 2020 to 2021. And then provisional data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, National Center for Health Statistics estimate that 2,931 Michiganders, how do I scroll down? There we go. I was like, I don't know the rest of that stat, died from a drug overdose in 2023, and is estimating a 3% decrease in drug overdose deaths nationally for the first time since 2018. I know that Hillsdale County does not have a huge number for overdose deaths, but every life matters. So even if we have one overdose death, we failed that person somehow. So that's why we started it, to look at how can we help them. I can't even read that slide. Can you see that? Okay, thank you. I was like, I can't even read that. In Hillsdale County, cocaine-involved deaths are decreasing. In 2023, Hillsdale County had a 10% of drug overdose deaths which involved cocaine. And then from 2022 to 2023, cocaine-involved deaths decreased 75%. In Hillsdale County, heroin-involved deaths are increasing. 2023, we had 10% of drug overdose involved heroin, which is the one death. From 2022 to 2023, heroin-involved deaths increased in Hillsdale County. For synthetic opioids-involved deaths are increasing. 60% of drug overdose deaths include synthetic opioids. That's 6 deaths. And then from 2022 to 2023, it increased for our county. And then psychostimulants-involved deaths are decreasing. So those are 30% of drug overdose deaths involved other psychostimulants. Those are 3 deaths in 2023. I think you're up, right? Last one. So I think these are pretty big numbers. Hillsdale County is the 35th most vulnerable county out of 83 with regards to substance use. We rank 60th in substance abuse burden with a composite burden score better than the county average. We rank 16th in substance abuse resources with a composite resource score worse than the county average. And we ranked 32 in social vulnerability in Michigan. That's not good. So that's, I'm passing it to Megan. She's going to talk more about how can we help.
Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about our county specifics and what we're kind of seeing. But this slide specifically, we have the most recent data to 2022. Nearly 17,000 minor children had a parent or parents die due to drug poisoning between those years. I'm not going to, you can all see that on the slide, the percentage-wise, but that is a high percentage. And then if you look at the bottom, Hillsdale County, in those 22 years, we had anywhere from 300 to 449 minor children whose parents had died from drug poisoning. So again, a significant number for the county that we're in. And so we're going to talk about how it affects our children. So right now, just to give you kind of a little screenshot from October 1st of 2024 to present, we have done 46 removals in the county, in Hillsdale County. Out of those 46, 25 removals have had some type of substance use as a barrier. Alcohol use, drug use. We're not counting marijuana, so that would just be, that would probably be 46 out of 46, to be quite honest. So, but that is a 54% rate of children that are in care from last year to now that parents have some type of substance use problem that we are trying to work on. And like Judge Syverson said, the elephant in the room is that they are trying to shove it into this really small container, but what can we do to prevent it before it gets to that really small container? How can we help? with these families. And so how we can help with that is by not doing removals and just putting children into CPS ongoing services. And right now, we currently have 36 ongoing cases that are being monitored, and of those 36, 13 families, so 36%, are dealing with substance use. And so we are trying as a department to keep those kids in the home safely if we can. And how we are doing that is putting services for children. However, as you can see, the slide is pretty small. There's not a lot of prevention services for children. So there are services from Lifeways it's all about being a teen, Too Good for Drugs, and Teen Intervene. I know they focus a lot on the vaping use that we're seeing, but what more can we do to get these children into preventative services? And so I don't want to talk too much on this slide because Judge Severson did a great job, but one program we are able to use at DHS is Family Treatment Court. However, for our families to be able to use that, they have to have court involvement. So that either looks like the children are placed in foster care or they're in the home with an in-home jurisdiction petition to allow them to get into the program. This is one of the programs that we really try to focus on. We really are trying to get our numbers up in this program. It's very intensive, but it does have a good success rate if the program, if the parents are willing, as well as the team, to work hard. It's hard, like Judge Severson said, it's a hard program, but it is the most intensive program that at DHS we can offer to our families. So finally, the last thing we kind of want to touch on is why do we need an OFR team in Hillsdale County? So Riley talked a little bit about the statistics overall, how our numbers are not great for the county that we, the size that we are. And so in the OFR team, the very few sessions that we've had so far, what we've learned is that we're finding a lot of this is generational. It's generational. We are seeing families, we're seeing parents now that had gone through the system or their parents had a substance use disorder. And so how can we get to the bottom of that? What can we do to help them before we get to this point? And so the goal of OFR is to put in prevention services. How can we help prevent this, starting from a very young age, all the way until adulthood, so we're not having children be removed from their homes, so we're not having to terminate parents' rights. And so we are really excited about the OFR and what we are hoping to be able to do in the community to help with this epidemic that we are seeing. Thank you.
All right, so we have time for some questions and answers. If you have something, please raise your hand and we'll bring the mic to you. Right there.
My question is if you have a parent that is doing drugs, they're afraid to admit it, and if they come up and say, hey, I need help, are you gonna take their kids or put them through the system right away, or how would you handle that?
You need a mic. Yep. Sorry, Riley. So let me just make sure I heard it all. If you have someone that you know as a parent that's using and they have children, are we going to take their kids? So what CPS does is we have to look at how it affects their parenting. There's lots of people that use, like, I'm going to use alcohol. So if I'm going to go to the bar tonight and I know that I'm going to get severely intoxicated, I'm going to put my kids somewhere else, right? So then when I get home the next day and I'm not drunk anymore, I'm going to get my kids back. So if I know that I'm going to use meth, I need to find a sober caretaker to take care of my child. Will CPS remove on that? No. If you're finding an appropriate person to take care of your child. If you're putting your child, though, if you know that you're going to use meth and you're letting that child go somewhere that's not appropriate and not safe, that's a discussion. I'm not going to say that's an automatic removal because CPS nothing's automatic all the time, right? It depends on the situation. Megan, feel free to jump in if I answered incorrectly or you want to add to it.
No, I think you answered fine. Pass
Pass that test.
Every case is different, right? So we're gonna look at every case individually, and like Riley said, how does that substance use relate directly to abuse or neglect of the child? And can they stay in the home safely? Because I know over the years, a lot of people haven't had this viewpoint, but you know, we're really moving towards how can we keep the kids in the home safely with their parents while also addressing the substance use concerns and getting them the services that they need.
We want them clean as much as their family wants them clean. We want to make sure that their kids are safe and that they're safe. We can't stop them from using, but what we can do is give them resources to get the help if they want the help.
Okay. Next question. Okay, right there, Bella.
So with removals for children and CPS, CPS acknowledges that there's some trauma for the children. Have they ever done any studies to see what they could do to try to fix or resolve some of that? Maybe seeing after clean time, getting the children back home a little bit quicker after a few clean tests?
So in regard to getting them home quicker, that is one thing that Family Treatment Court really does focus on. It's supposed to be a fast track to getting your children, to getting unsupervised quicker and getting your children home quicker. Obviously, there's more to it than just, you know, a few clean screens. There's other things in the program, but that is the point of the program in regard to that, is to have the children returned quicker while the intensive services are still in the home. So that way, if there is going to be, you know, a slip up or something, we're still there to provide that service. Yeah, go ahead.
And just from a judicial perspective on that, and I've acted in all of the courts, so I was in neglect and abuse, and I still cover for Judge Bianchi at times, just so that everybody's aware I'm not just making things up. It really does come down to a judicial determination on that as well. So you can have individuals, and this is one of those lawyer answers where it's like, it depends. It depends on the situation and all of the different things that surround that drug use and other factors that may come in. And then there's going to be recommendations from the department, statements from attorneys, and it really comes down to you having the right jurist on the bench who takes all of that information and makes a judgment call, a risk assessment, and decides when that child's going to return home. And just so you guys are aware, too, I mean, when we make those decisions as judges, as jurists, it's on us. We know if we return a child too early and harm comes to that child, it's going to flow back. We have to make sure that we're making good determinations. But we also know the longer that we have kids in care and they're in foster care, of course, we're causing removal trauma. That's a real thing. It's a real thing.
I think we have time for one more. Bella?
For the panel, in your own words, could you just share from your own personal experience about the success that you are observing, that you're seeing, that you're hearing, that you're witnessing through the treatment court programs?
So, how many people, I'm not going to ask that. The motto of treatment court, please join in if you know it, is show up, be honest, try, okay? This is an honesty court. These courts are. And if anything, I feel like what we've done is open the line of communication so that people are feeling less shame in admitting when they're testing positive and when they're having problems. Substance use disorder does not know any type of socioeconomic, bounds at all. The people who are getting arrested that you see in the newspaper are getting in trouble. Those are the people taking advantage of the programs, but there are doctors and lawyers and judges and senators who have the same use disorders that the rest of the public, the people that you see in the newspaper, have. So by opening that dialogue and just showing that we're receptive to hearing, are we going to react sometimes? Absolutely. I have to take the public safety into consideration in certain situations. But that honesty piece, Joe, you know that when those individuals are coming in and they feel like they're supported instead of punished every time, it's the single biggest success that I've come out of the treatment courts that I operate in.
I mean, treatment court's been around I was one of the first treatment court workers in 2007, 8, 6? Yeah, it's been a long time. I saw a lot of success, but I also saw a lot of heartbreak, and the heartbreak was those seeing the kids asking. They were part of it. They knew if their parent was struggling, and some couldn't do it. The ones that did, it was successful, and I haven't seen them around. So, but it does take, it's even after treatment court, we're in their life for over a year, sometimes a year and a half, and then if that court case closes, that's where they get dropped, and it takes a lot. They have to be definitely infused in that sobriety living with those supports and because it's a daily thing that you need support. You can't do this alone.
I came from a county that didn't have any treatment courts when I was a direct worker, and so coming here and seeing how dedicated they are to the treatment courts and to the sobriety in the community has been great. Are there bumps and holes in the road that we are fixing all the time? Yes, but I personally have enjoyed being able to be working in a county that does offer that intensive of a service, not just for family court or not just for drug court, but all across, because it does take a team, and it does, we all know they need that support, and that's one thing I think that, at least speaking from family treatment court, they really do provide that. And so for me, it's been really nice to see coming to Hillsdale County.
All right. Thank you very much to our speakers.